Good morning, everybody. The title of our research is Do Labor the Openness Affect the Performance of the Creativity Industries? Our background is creativity is a complete resource that is based primarily on ideas and cultural characteristics rather than on physical capital. The main source of creativity is invisible because it includes everything. Everyone has knowledge, emotions, talents, and spontaneity. Empirical results show that employment opportunities in the creative industry sector affect Ecuador's economy both in the medium and long term. Ukraine encourages creativity business by enhancing a culture of openness and forming an ecosystem in the development of creativity industries. The existence of openness is a growing thing in the creative industry. Research problem: creative economic growth increased in line with GDP growth, but has not been able to increase its contribution to the national economy because its growth is still below GDP growth. So this research wants to analyze whether labor and export can increase the GDP of the creative sector in Indonesia. For the theory, Keynes also added that the factors that drive increased income in the economic sector, one of which is exports. Lewis said, labor growth has traditionally been regarded as one of the positive factors that driving economic growth. A larger number of labor means an increase in the level of production, and a greater population growth indicates a large size of the domestic market. Our model based on the theory and the empirical review. The model used to analyze the problems in this study is like this. This study uses secondary data in the form of panel data, a combination of data over a period of 8 years. And for subsectors of Indonesian creative industry as cross-section data. The data is obtained from websites and official sites on the internet. In this research refers to the data provided by Indonesian Statistics for GDP and labor data and uncontract 2-digit SITC code revision 4 for export data. The hypothesis is formulated as follows. Labor and creative industry export have an effect on change in the GDP of the creative industry sector. After the model is determined, the analysis method begins by testing the stationary and co-integration of the data. Then, it will analyze the effect of labor and export on GDP using multiple regression analysis methods. Based on stationary tests, show that all variables used in this study are stationary at the level. Thus, it's continued with the co-integration test which show that GDP, labor, and exports do not have a long-term relationship. To see the short-term relationship, it's necessary to do a regression test using the ordinary least square method. Based on the Hausmann test, the best model used to answer research question is the fixed effect model. This model is able to accommodate the difference in characteristic between individuals. The following equation is obtained like this. Labor has a positive effect on GDP at insignificant level of 10%, and export have a negative effect at a significant level of 5%. The first key findings are labor has a positive effect on the GDP of the creative industry. Malthus states a theory about population which states that population increase in geometric speed and food production increases with arithmetic speed. In terms of quantity, the total population will increase the market share for national products. In terms of quality, it will increase the number of labor who are ready to compete in the labor market. The labor that has high innovation will be able to compete in the labor market in line with the demands for creation of competitive national products. The next key findings, the increase in labor absorption is quite high in the creative industry sector due to the sectoral transformation from agriculture to industry. Small and medium industry require creative power, individual creativity, and certain skills related to information technology on company operations. Each company will try to increase the value of the company's output. The increase in the output value of the creative industry company causes producers to tend to increase their production capacity. Thus, it takes an additional labor with certain skill to increase the amount of production of a creative industry. The second key findings are the export of the creative industry has a negative effect on the GDP of the creative industry. Export is an embodiment of international trade activity that provides a stimulus for domestic demand. This has led to the growth of industry, including the creative industry. Some of the export destinations for Indonesia are the countries with very volatile macroeconomic conditions. The macroeconomic conditions have an impact on the decline in the import value of that country. Indirectly, this will also have an impact on the decline in the value of Indonesians' exports to these countries, including exports of products in creative industry sectors. The impact is that the export value of creative industrial products has not been able to increase Indonesia's GDP in the creative industry sector. The export dependence of Indonesia's creative industries is very high to European countries and the United States. When the economics of these countries experience a shock, it will also affect the macroeconomy, including import activities. Our conclusions are the labor of creative industry have a positive effect on creative industry GDP. The required manpower has skills that can be in line with current developments, especially expertise in the field of computerization to increase the amount of production of a creative industry. In the era of globalization, the expertise of the labor is the field of computerization will create work efficiency and effectiveness. The last, the exports of creative industry have a negative effect on the GDP of the creative industry. This is due to the decline in demand for export products from Indonesia in several countries in the world because the macroeconomic conditions in these countries experience shock. As a result, import values in the countries tend to decline, including imports from Indonesia for the production of the creative economic sector. Thank you for your attention. That's all.